and we're streaming as well. Good morning, everyone. This is episode 242. 42. Yep, it's just Chill and myself today. That was more or less deliberate, because, I keep saying I'm going to have a short show, and apparently there's a drinking game that Blacklock streamed up, and that's one of the reasons when you have to. So yes, short show, but maybe for real. Just Chill and myself. How much can we really talk about, right?
Right.
And it's not much news. It's early in the year.
That's true.
We weren't going to have any tweets, which is why I actually tweeted out asking for them, and then now we've got 9. So a few of them are quite short. So it's all good. It's all good. All right. Let me just move that and that out of the way. Yes, Blacklock. Drink. And Mr. Blacklock, we will be. I'll be reading through what you did this week in lieu of my own, which was rather empty. So, sadly. All right, I'm gonna tweet out because I keep forgetting. This time I did. All right, I just have to start. You are recording, Chill?
Yeah, I am. Audacity is rolling.
All right, mine is good to go as well. Recording the correct device. Kuze apologizes for last week. He recorded apparently from the wrong device, so that wasn't his mic, and that's why the sound was a bit weird.
Ah, okay.
So, hello, Blacklock. Hey, everyone. All right, Chill, you ready to roll?
I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that is a big deal in the Resistance. This is episode 242, being recorded on Wednesday, January 6, 2016. I'm your host, Chill, with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys.
And no guests today, it's just the two of us. So, Tio, what you been doing?
I don't get any time to think about it, do I? Right, so, unfortunately, believe it or not, I have not played at all. I was just thinking about this. I have not actually logged into the game in the last week, which is very sad. I have not been playing any other game, just real-life stuff. I'm not even sure what it was, but I did something, that's for sure. Yes.
If you can't remember, it's probably something to do with your kid and not sleeping.
There was an element of that, that's for sure, back at work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, however, what I did want to mention was we had a question a show or two ago, or I asked a show or two ago about whether it was possible to turn off the 6 times XP, the built-in boost to the planetary story arcs and the class story. And someone actually responded and said they referred to a post talking about the epic story boost, which was the one back in pre-4.0 where you can use the white acute module, which was this gadget you bought from a Gree vendor, and said, that's how you turn it off. So I thought, well, I could try it. So I did actually have a white acute module. I don't believe you can get them anymore, and I did try it. It just does nothing. So, no, you're stuck with it. 6 times XP, or 12 times XP when we have double XP. But, yeah. So, yeah, there is no way around it, unfortunately.
Okay.
I should mention I'm still reading The Force Awakens, almost done. I saw, Chill, you got the audiobook.
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
Talk about that later.
Yep.
However, and in lieu of my week, now we did ask Blacklock to be on the show this week, but he is actually feeling quite unwell. So, however, he has another element of the Utini drinking game, in addition to me saying we're going to have a short show, is the duration of the what we did this week. And apparently the longest one so far, the record is 24 minutes. And he, if he did come on, was hoping to exceed that. But since he's not feeling well, what he did instead was prepare his own What I Did This Week, and he used an app to create a standard Star Wars crawl for it. So it starts off with the blue writing a long time ago on a server called the Red Eclipse. Raid Wars. Episode 1. What I Did in Game This Week. This week, our hero took over as guild leader. and saw that with the death of a few more Bothans, we were close to having enough flagship plans to open up new areas of our Imperial base. By sending the followers out across the universe, the Dark Lord crafted some additional dark projects to get enough plans and then poured 5 million of his own non-exploit gain credits into the bank.
Nice.
Using the credits, the plans, and the dark side of the Force, he expanded his empire and opened up a part of the crew deck and the engineering deck. He doesn't think anyone in the guild has noticed yet. I believe that. Following his success, Darth Blacklock vanquished many adds in his quest to grind heroics and joined strangers called Pug to raid with mixed success. One raid had maybe the worst raid leader he'd ever seen, and he managed to stream it all using the HaloNet. Other raids went smoother, but Darth Blade really misses progression raiding with his guild team. Aww. Due to the lack of guild raiding, our hero has looked at the Final Fantasy MMO and to maybe join his guildmates who have gone to this new world.
Oh dear.
Aww. Also, other members of the family tree have followed in his quest and been frozen in carbonite only to escape and have a story-based adventure. ... So yes, it's quite awesome. I'll link to his actual how he presented it using whatever this app presented or generated is on a website. Is kind of cool. Anyway, sadly, that's my week. Over to you, Chell, and Blacklocks.
Yes, exactly. All right. First, a shout out to the chat room. Ari is here. Blacklocks Wotor is here. Beware too. Delegant is here. Darth Brundlefly, Dekion, Fionha, Gahana, Ganglatron, Get Vizzy. I'm guessing that's pretty good. JP Chivalry, Kayums, Mix Up Pixels, who is Alex of the Geek Podcast, Noxelbanus, I guess is how you pronounce that, Scott Thomas, Siskayetka, Snave is here, hello Snave, Zam is also here, our PvPing friend. Alright, and, gosh, actually I had the opposite week. I actually got multiple gaming sessions in, and I mostly did it with friends, which actually really helped, because, as you know, I've had a hard time kind of enjoying much of anything really, but you know, even games, like I haven't touched a single phone game since it happened, so it was nice to, you know, have some friends along. I got Chill Hulk up to level 65, so now I have an Empire side character at level 65, which is good. Didn't even touch Coffee. We just did 2 planets worth of heroics, and just it's amazing how much experience you get from those. And so it was basically just one game session, boom, 60 to 65, 2 planets worth of heroics. It was Hoth and then Nar Shaddaa. And that's it. I mean, yeah, we did all the bonuses and stuff, but that didn't really add all that much time. And I think it wasn't even the 2 times experience. I think it was just the 1 time, but I could be wrong. I also worked on my Harley Quinn themed character, Chili Quinn, and she is now done with Act 1 and has also done Terrace at this point as well. And that was, that was quite enjoyable. Still working on getting her look right. It was suggested that I look at the white eyes thing, and that might work, and I'm gonna try that. I don't have that unlocked though, so I will have to look for that. I also saw The Force Awakens for the second time. This time it was in 3D, and that was with my son, and it does add to the experience to some degree. I personally don't. I know a lot of people have eye issues with 3D, and it gives them headaches, or gets their eyes tired or whatever. But I don't have those particular problems for whatever reason, so it's hard for me to gauge, whether someone prone to that might actually enjoy a 3D game, the 3D version. But I will say that like BB-8 in close-up looks amazing with the Disney 3D, because you can actually see the entire like sphere. You can actually see the whole curve of him in it. It's really cool. It's very, very nice. Also, I did, in fact, buy and listen to the Audible version of the novelization of Force Awakens. Didn't feel, at least on this first listen, like I got a whole lot of extra information out of it beyond the movie. When I listened to it, it is longer. There's stuff that doesn't happen in the movie, but it feels a little like padding to me. It's like, okay, there's a little extra conversation, but if I was like the editor of a movie and I had the whole thing, I would have done what they did for the movie and cut out the extraneous stuff.
Oddly
It didn't
enough,
feel like there's a whole lot of extra stuff. But,
yeah, I found exactly the same thing reading the book, and some of those scenes which we see in the book were deleted scenes from the movie. So I think they did exactly what you said and cut it out.
Yeah, they're right. So there was some extra. There were a few extra scenes and a couple of like very minor subplots that weren't in the movie.
Yeah.
So not a ton of extra stuff, but it was good. And Mark Thompson was the reader, as he so often is, and he did his usual excellent job. So I will listen to it for a second time. Hopefully, get a little bit more out of it. Also, listener Nick was nice enough to send me a hypercrate, and I plan on opening some of those and giving others to Guildies just for fun. So thank you to Nick. Appreciate it. All right, and that will bring us to the tip of the week. And, well, Tio, I guess your ad worked because we didn't have any for a while, but now we've got 9 tips. Holy cow. Why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, I honestly thought we'd be short this week because we had none, just a couple of days ago. Anyway, our first tip is from Fluffy Vert of Jedi Covenant. If you want the achievement for having all classes leveled to 60, and you have an Insta-60 token, simply create the class you are missing and log in. By logging onto the game, you get the 50, 55, and 60 achievement points, and this also applies to the new icon you get for having done all the storylines. That is Legendary status. May the Force be with you. And yes, of course, as you know, if you delete the character you create after you've logged in and got the necessary achievements, as long as you do it before level 61, you can just then, you get your token back and you do it again. And again. So you could actually be a brand new player, zip through all 8 classes and get everything. So probably not doing it in the spirit in which it was originally intended, but why not? Of course, remember, you get absolutely nothing for legendary status. It's just a little icon, though you do get your... Yeah,
you get the icon. I guess that's something. Yeah. All right, second tip from Sir Salisbury. He writes, do Heroic 2s as a team of 4 to earn the extra credits from the bonus objectives. Yeah, there was a lot of credits when I was running those Heroics, and there was just 3 of us, but it was pretty sweet.
Yeah, and the way they've set it up now so that it appears everyone gets the rewards as if they were doing it solo. So, yeah, it doesn't matter how many people. It's not split up anymore, you just get it all, is my impression. Alright, third tip is from Rondo War. Using the Legacy Unlock, any character can go to Odessen. You buy the unlock for 200,000 credits without having done any story. It's useful to get access to the companion gift vendor. Now, this actually came up because Nessa Happy was asking why they couldn't actually get to Odessen via their starship, and in Game Update 4.0.3, they did change it so Zakul and Odessen no longer appear on your galaxy map in your starship until you've actually completed Chapter 9. So, however, as Rondo War points out, if you just get the 200,000 credit unlock, you can go straight there. Okay.
So I guess some folks are like trying to find clever ways to avoid the story, or at least the class story.
Imagine that.
Which is crazy, because that's like some of the best stuff in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Sotor Economics wrote, as for the fourth tip, don't run 16-man story mode Dread Palace for conquest points as it's bugged, but I'm not sure about 8-man or other operations yet.
I have no information to share on that. I haven't seen any posts about it from BioWare officially confirming it's broken, but, well, Conquest have been a bit of a mess of late, so who knows, really?
Okay.
Oh, dear. So, all right, fifth tip is from Ags McBrr. If you plan on moving servers and want to change your legacy name, roll a fresh tune on the target server, play to level 10, pick your new legacy name, transfer a tune from your old server. You get your old legacy level with the new name. Now, you can actually purchase the legacy level the legacy unlock.
But I guess,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I guess if you're planning on moving the servers, though, you kind of get a twofer this way.
Yeah.
All right, sixth tip is from Zorvik. If a pug group is being really annoying, get them back by not pressing skip.
All right, so
does that count as a tip, or is that just like
a bit kind of trolling? Well,
exactly.
If the members of your group are being annoying, then sure. But just remember, for example, if there's 3 people in a guild and you're just the extra one that got group finded in, if you piss them off, they probably will kick you from the group just before the final boss. So just be careful. But if there's strangers in the group, no one knows who's holding everything up. There isn't any easy way to tell who's actually not spacebarring, I've noticed. All right, our 7th tip is from Jagged Fell of the Imperial Reapers Guild on Jedi Covenant. I have 2 tips here. I hope they have not been mentioned before, but there's something I discovered while 2 times XP was going on. First tip. While leveling a character from 1 to 65 now, you gain an incredible amount of common data crystals between class missions and heroics. So you're seeing that as well, Shell? Yeah.
Oh, tons of them. Yeah, the class missions are usually like 12 crystals each, and so you go through them really, you get a lot of them.
Okay. I meant to ask you, have you done the exploration missions, or are you just sticking with Planetary Arc and Class Story?
Because the Harley Quinn character did a lot of early 2 times experience, she was actually ahead, so I haven't needed to do the side quests yet, or the planetary quests yet, just the class ones.
All right. Okay.
But it's likely that she's getting closer and closer now to where she should be anyway, so I'm thinking I'll either have to do some flashpoints or I will have to do the planetary arc pretty soon.
All right. He continues, you should have a maximum amount of common data crystals, if not more, via the ones you get to Prelude for Shadow of Revan. And if you're wondering about a fairly profitable use for them, you could those could net you around 34 to 40 of the grade 6 companion gifts, which one could then sell for roughly 3 million credits, depending on your server.
Nice.
So there you go. That is probably the best, most cost-effective way of using your common data crystals in terms of turning them into credits.
Right.
Via the
especially
gifts.
Especially if you're just leveling it up for laughs and not planning on taking them into operations. Don't need it for gear or anything. Yeah. Nice.
My second tip is for those starting to gear up once they reach level 65. A great way I've discovered, short of buying gear from the common data vendor, which is pretty much what everyone does, is by running the tactical version of SLS or Black Talon. Unlike most tacticals that scale up to 65, this one stays a level 10 flashpoint, and as such can be easily soloed, and between the final boss and bonus boss will drop 2 random artifact quality 208 pieces, which, if it's an armor or weapon piece, will have a min-max enhancement as a bonus. Well, that's terrible, isn't it? That's not meant to work like that, I suspect. So rather a bit of a gap in the system. There's no reason why it wasn't level synced. So
yeah, that does sound wrong. Yeah, that's got to be something that they know about, I would hope. But yeah, okay. All right, 8th tip from Descartes of from Descartes of the Ebon Hawk. It's pretty obvious, but if you're grinding Alliance influence through heroics, the way to minimize wasted time is to grab all the missions on a given planet. In the first place, there are several planets where multiple heroics are grouped together, and you can work on them all at once. In the second place, loading them takes less time from one spot on one planet to another planet. Not much of a tip, but there it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
all right,
how we did it.
Yep. And our last tip is one that Swodarista didn't actually enter, but I actually saw her post on Reddit. So this is from Swodarista. And she says, in Windows 8 or Windows 10, you can press and hold the Windows key and tap the print screen key, the PRT SCR print screen, to take a screenshot of SWOTOR. The screenshot will be saved to your Pictures folder as a PNG file, which is just another graphics format like JPEGs or whatever. This will even work in cutscenes, which is probably the best reason to use it.
Okay, very nice. Of course, as a gamer, I have removed my Windows key because I don't like hitting it and having everything minimized for me when I'm in fights. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I do have the secondary Windows key, or I can just kind of jab it. Yeah. But yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Very nice.
All right, that was all the tips. Yes, so by random allotment, the winner is Jagged Fell. So congratulations, Jagged Fell. You're the winner of a Tonfon or M83R droid pet code, courtesy of BioWare, and an OotiniCast provided cartel market pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Tuesday. And that will bring us to the holo feed, Tio.
Believe it or not a lot of news. Though, we did actually have a message on the forums just today from Eric Musco, who is back from holiday. In fact, I actually got an email back from him today, so he's certainly active again after the break. He says in this post, Happy 2016, everyone. Just to alleviate any concerns, we are here. There will be information on upcoming live streams, patch release dates, and more coming soon. I'm hoping to get some details out before the end of the week, so they are beginning to start the information flow once more. So next week, hopefully we should have some more meaty news to talk about, rather than me having to scratch around and find whatever I can. He goes on. He said he removed the stickies, this is from the general forum, because they were for announcements that were no longer relevant. The FAQ articles moved, or for older blog content, the Alliance. No alarm needed, I just did a little 2016 house cleaning. Before you know it, there will be more stickies to occupy the top of a general discussion near you. So anyway, that's pretty much the only news we have on the forums.
Okay.
The other stuff was about servers going down. Apparently the West Coast servers had a bit of a glitch yesterday, and I think Mantle of the Force had a issue a few days ago.
Okay.
Right, next. Now this one... Well, next we have a starting at level 60 video that Spyware has put out. It's maybe 10 minutes long. The idea of the video is for tips on how to get started on your Star Wars story. This is basically for brand new players, completely new to the game, who've created an Insta-60, for example, and are playing through it for the first time. Just more or less explains the mechanics. It's not too bad. It's a shame they couldn't get a professional voice actor to actually do the voiceover for the video. But it's alright. So, for a new player, it probably does give some pretty good advice. For anyone who already knows how to play, obviously no value at all. So, But yeah, it's good to have that kind of tutorial. It's a shame it wasn't available a few weeks ago, when the whole thing launched. But for players discovering the game now, why not?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure there's still people coming on in because of, the movie and everything else. So, there we go.
Indeed. Now, this next one is a bit strange. BioWare posted on their blog.bioware.com blog a Happy New Year message. Happy New Year from all of us. This posted on the 1st of Jan. And they say various things. The New Year is a time for new beginnings, fresh starts, and rejuvenated spirits. It's also a time for reflection. As we look back on 2015, we want to thank you for being part of an incredible year. And then he talks about Dragon Age Inquisition. Okay. They talk about the upcoming game Mass Effect Andromeda.
Okay. Yeah.
And yep, you'll see where I'm going with this.
And
then
yes.
Yep, and then they talked a few other things about what they've been doing. Fantastic cosplay, put on a fashion show. Every Friday morning we sat down to play the latest Dragon Age multiplayer weekend challenge. It's been a fantastic year. We look forward to what the new one will bring. We hope you'll join us on our journey to Andromeda. From all of us at BioWare, thank you. Of course, that's all of us in BioWare, apparently excluding the people at BioWare Austin, because there is absolutely no mention of Star Wars The Old Republic. It's as if it doesn't exist. So this is kind of weird. And looking around the BioWare site, which I really don't pay much attention to generally, in their about, they do actually talk about Star Wars The Old Republic as one of their properties, a story-driven, massively multiplayer online game. And if you go to the menu under games, it's certainly there. But under Twitter, they don't list at SWOTOR, and on their Facebook, they also don't list the SWOTOR page. So it's like...
That's weird.
Yeah, BioWare Austin really is sort of off to the side, it would appear. Kind of, for the most part, separated.
Jeez.
Yeah. It was a bit sad. A lot of people I saw were commenting in response to that BioWare tweet, saying, what gives?
What gives, exactly. Yeah, what is this, Cinderella or something? Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now, last news story in SWOTOR-related news. This was Reflections on the Year Past by Larry Everett on Massively Overpowered in his Hyperspace Beacon article. SWTOR developers reflect on 2016, and he apparently spoke to senior producer Bruce McLean, lead creative designer, former writer Charles Boyd,
Awesome.
and lead technical designer Michael Backus.
Good guy, yep.
Yep, pretty much the big guns as far as SWTOR goes at the moment. And he wanted to talk to them about the 4 years of SWTOR, and specifically the creation of the latest expansion. Now, they didn't actually go into that much detail, though one thing that kind of stunned me was the actual inspiration for Fallen Empire. Boyd explained that Knights of the Fallen Empire derived much of its inspiration from a Star Wars RPG tabletop campaign created by designer Jesse Sky, the guy who's left a few weeks ago. And this was many years ago. Boyd told Larry that many of the elements of the original campaign remain in the expansion, and that most of those pulled from Sky's love of Star Wars as a youth. And he went on to say that it was a way to reshuffle the board and a way of old and new players to experience a game on a kind of level playing field. Because many players did come back to the game and loved it. McLean said that much of that stems from listening to fans when the Shadow of Revan expansion came out. The player response to Shadow of Revan was, "Yes, tell me more about my story. That's why I'm playing a BioWare game. I want that BioWare storytelling." He didn't actually say that part. And that really inspired the team. So, yeah, it's the same message we've had all along. Apparently everyone was asking for more story, and that's what they've got.
Right.
Backus talked about his discussions with Jesse Sky, saying it was always about the personal story between the droids, the lightsabers, and the Force. But really what it comes down to, it's all about relationships and it being personal. It's not only this huge imposing threat that the player has to go up against, but it's about this family and all the things that are happening and all the politics and relationships that you're building with them. And I guess I should say at this point, yes, that's all fine. I think it's a little strange that they're using an MMO for this particular platform, but I guess they don't have any other Star Wars RPG out there, so why not?
Right.
Why not?
Yeah.
Now, adjusting the vision. And Larry says, anyone who plays SWTOR now, compared to when it launched, would obviously acknowledge it's a very different game.
Oh, absolutely.
The whole leveling process being streamlined, made to fit the readjusted focus on personal story. Right, so they're going to beat this personal story thing a lot, I suspect. Mm-hmm. That really does seem to be the message going forward.
Yep.
And quoting, "We knew that in order to do this right, we would have to go back to the core game and change it. We would have to change the way the core game felt, change it to less of, as it was at the time, a more grindy leveling MMO game to a BioWare storyteller game, to change the core game into an RPG. So it's not our imagination. They really have created KOTOR 3 here. And they've taken our MMO and effectively changed it into a single-player KOTOR 3.
Absolutely,
well, in addition to the MMO bits, but the whole leveling experience, which I guess...
Now, right, the whole leveling experience is now designed around the class story, the planetary arcs, and actually just getting through the story and not having to do extra missions or any extra bits, really. Just going right through the story, which, of course, that's how you're going to get, the most out of all the voice acting and all that good stuff. So, I mean, it is very much the meat of SWTOR, as far as leveling goes. So, I mean, it's probably if they're going to focus on anything, that's what to focus on for leveling.
Yes, but I suppose this is more our expectations as far as an MMO goes, that the leveling experience is not meant to be quick, as in this. It just takes time. You invested in your character. Right. It takes a long time to get there. One of my disappointments with Kotfi is just how quickly you get from 60 to 65. I mean, it's ludicrous. You're there within hours, effectively. Right.
And like I
without
said,
even trying.
I didn't have to touch it. Yeah, I didn't even get into Kotfi on the whole character.
And that's so strange to me. But again, maybe that is the future. Maybe that's the future. Well, as Darth Brundlefly said, we took the grind out of the leveling of a character and put it all and more at the end game. So one could say the alliance system is something of a grind. So don't worry, the MMO grind is still there. It's just kind of been pushed forward a little bit.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, there's there's something to be said for, however, spending a little more time in your character and having more fighting. Because I mean, when I'm doing the class leveling, it's so quick, and so much of the XP is from the actual like turning in of missions and not from like fighting. So I mean, if I wasn't already extremely familiar with the game, and this is my first character, I wouldn't be getting nearly the sort of expertise with my character as as I would. So
one could argue that given how easy it is now, and the strength of the companions, even after they unnerfed them, you don't need to be good at the game or at playing your character because it's so damn easy.
But yeah, exactly, which makes it trickier at endgame. But I guess we'll see how that all plays out.
Yes. Because, again, let's remember they are looking at the numbers, so I guess something has told them that this is exactly what people want.
Yeah.
Just not us.
They've been so clear about that I can't imagine that they're doing anything other than just reporting on what they found at this point.
Yeah, I agree. And then they talked about 12 times XP boost and how, with the Epic Story boost, how well that worked out. And so, again, it's all about focusing on just the pure mainline story and just getting through that. Then they talked about the future. This article is very light. It looks like they weren't really giving much away to Larry. Sorry, let me just pick out the good bits. And it turned out they weren't very serious. You become the Emperor, Bacchus proclaimed. Then Boyd popped in with two doozies. Turns out Koth is Malgus and Malgus is Kephas. Well, we already knew that part. And the gravestone can turn into a giant robot, and obviously you can play as that robot. Yeah, okay, so they're not telling us anything, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, except maybe the gravestone becoming a robot part. I could see that. Yeah, so anyway, no news about the future. We don't know. Well, we know they're going to complete the story, at least the first season. They've talked about a second season. Yeah. Now, I did mention earlier that I'd emailed Eric Musco about the future, about whether we could get any kind of hint of upcoming PvE content, and he said, as he has said publicly before, he has nothing to announce at this time, but as soon as he does have something to say, he will say it. So have no fear, it's coming. And we do have something more on that later in that email from Kimmy, but yeah, we'll get to that. All right, other Star Wars news. I did just want to mention something that I noticed. The Star Wars anti-cheese edits of the prequels. What someone has done, anti-cheese. They have literally taken the cheese, so to speak, out of the prequel trilogy. So they've taken all three movies and edited out all the bits where one could consider cheesy. For example, Jar Jar, his dialogue has been completely removed, and instead they use subtitles, so you don't have to listen to that voice. Along those lines, these are all available on YouTube, though who knows how long they'll actually stay on YouTube before Disney jumps all over it. But while they're still there, and no harm in downloading it, just, yeah. So anyway, good. I mean, all is forgiven with The Force Awakens as far as the prequel trilogy goes. I mean, whatever. Right. But still, it's a bit unfortunate that they exist in their current form.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, there's been stories in the past of, I can't remember who did it. It was an actor or director, and they actually took the time to edit down all three prequels down to one movie. And basically, Phantom Menace ended up being like 5 minutes of it.
Good.
But basically, the idea was to, take what was, a pretty long trilogy and turn it into one more interesting single movie. Right. But I can't remember who did that at this point, and I don't think it ever really saw the light of day. I think some people have sort of seen it, but I don't think it was ever like widely distributed.
Right. Oh, as I probably haven't mentioned on the show before, but there's another series of movies that were where someone recreated the original trilogy A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, in the form that they were originally released. And now that is surprisingly hard to get hold of because there've been the various George Lucas fixing it up, and some of those changes he made were quite justified, and others were just terrible. Han shot first. No.
Being the famous one,
yeah. So, and
adding Jabba in that one part. Ugh.
Exactly. But if you want to see it as it was originally seen by people in the cinema, that is a place you can go to find those painfully reconstructed from Laserdisc footage and VHS and all kinds of stuff. So, anyway. All right, now in community news, so thank you to our latest Utini patron, Justin P. Thank you, mate.
Thank you, Justin.
And thanks also to David for his donation, and he said, I enjoy listening to your show every week. Thanks, Chill and Tio. So thank you, David, as well. Much appreciated. David. All right, a couple of more things in community. I just wanted to point out a couple of Reddit posts. Firstly, there's a post that is titled An Exhaustive List of Functional, Convenience and Quality of Life Items, Perks and Unlocks. And it is pretty thorough. So he lists toys, such as Dr. Oggerub, the Reverend Hollow statue, etc., 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 and describing what they are and what they do. And all the miscellaneous boosts you can get, such as rocket boots, the VIP wristband, if you remember that, if you've got the upgrade to Deluxe, the Shriek Mercenary contract, all the Stronghold stuff, all the utility items in Strongholds, Legacy unlocks and perks, where he actually references a separate post, which is good in itself, and all kinds of other things. So an excellent guide, especially for new players, to find out all the bits that can enhance your SWTOR experience. And even for players like us, there's probably stuff in there that we haven't seen before either, or don't remember, or whatever.
Forgot about, didn't actually get.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's clever.
And the second Reddit post, was a basic intro to attributes and dealing damage in combat. So again, this is all updated for 4.0, of course, and it just talks through all of the main stats, your win/mastery stat, endurance, power defense, yada yada, all of it. And then talks about how DPS works. It's a lot. Everything you would ever want to know about combat in Star Wars The Old Republic. So an excellent introduction if you're new to the game and probably haven't done MMOs before, or if you have played MMOs, how it all is portrayed in Star Wars The Old Republic. So some really good resources out there on the community, still being produced. Admittedly, not a lot of raid guides, but it's not like we've got any new operations that need documenting at this point. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the news.
All right. Well, that'll bring us to the Force Feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. And chat room, if you have any questions to ask, we'll be gathering them now to answer once we're done with the feedback. And Nathrak wrote, let's take a look at WoW for a moment. Their current expansion is over a year old. No new PvP content other than an area battleground called Ashran, which is garbage, that released with the expansion. Haven't heard of it, but okay. 3 new raids, but the current raid will have to last until late spring or early summer when the new expansion comes out. I feel that SWTOR Alliance bases are far superior to WoW garrisons. SWTOR has had way more content released since the time that WOD and Shadow of Revan were released. I do agree with Tio, though, about difficulty. I was leveling my agent last night in Rage, meaning Utini Rage, and my companion can solo everything as a tank. I think they need to make the game a bit harder.
Well, so fair. Everything you're saying is obviously true.
Okay.
When you look at what WoW does offer, certainly from the raiding point of view, you have your 4 raid difficulties. This is all from a post on the forums. You have your 4 raid difficulties, flexible raid sizes for 3 of these, and a fixed size for the hardest. Personal loot options, which they introduced with Miss Pandaria. Gear upgrade through currency, if that's still in there. And they have a system for making old content worth doing by giving that previously mentioned currency for completing it. So anyway, it's a more complex system, but you would expect that from WoW because they've been doing raiding forever and are pretty much the leaders as far as creating raids.
Right. And And unfortunately, they've had the player base that sort of is big enough to support very, very robust rating. So, and so they're able to do that.
Now, not that SWTOR's rating is necessarily bad, but
no, it's excellent.
Yes, and as I said before, when I did a fair amount of rating a WoW, but when I came to SWTOR, I actually enjoyed the raids a lot more for various reasons, I guess.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the content at all. So I think their operations are at least as good, in my opinion.
Right.
You don't have all the flexible stuff, but they've done a lot to make it good anyway. As far as the content drought, though, Blizzard has actually gone a fair amount of time between content releases, often longer than SWTOR has, even though they have their massive betas and whatever, but there's a long time before there's new content between each expansion. And this last expansion, the Warlords of Draenor, there was barely any. They had 3 raids, which is unusually small for the entire expansion. So, but Blizzard are saying that they've heard the feedback and they are going to be going back to a greater cadence as far as producing that kind of stuff goes. So the point is that SWTOR has its issues as far as producing MMO content, especially with the whole story focus, but Blizzard ain't doing that well either in some ways. But yeah.
Okay. Are we moving now to JB, or did you want to finish his email?
No, that's it.
Okay. JB wrote, do you think the KOTOR-style conversation choices were a possible reaction to potential voice actor industrial action?
That's a fascinating idea. And so, just to reiterate what they've done, they've provided the classic style of conversations where you just have, where they go that kind of widescreen where you see who the NPC you're talking to and you can't see yourself. And your responses are, you get a long list of things to choose from, far longer with regular cutscenes, and that is never actually spoken. The NPC immediately responds to whatever dialogue choices you made.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about that before as the main reason that they did it was that it was cheaper, because every time your character speaks, that's 16 lines of dialogue, 8 classes, 2 genders, 16 lines. Has to be every single one. Whereas
so exactly, they're not cutting out half of the voice acting. They're cutting out 16/17 of the voice acting.
Yes. And remember, voice actors do get paid, I believe it's by the hour, but so the longer of stuff they have to record for you, the more expensive it is. And 16 times is quite a lot, as opposed to having either a single voice actor for the NPC or, as is becoming more common, an alien who's not speaking basic, and so they just do the subtitle and just generate the audio, so which is even easier for them and cheaper.
Yes.
Now, I responded to JB about this, saying more or less that, and he responded that James Olin, in an article a while back, from quite a while ago, saying that the recording the voices was a fixed and known cost, and wasn't the reason that the delivery of the game actually blew out or the cost blew out or whatever, which is true. And yet, that fixed cost, you still want to minimize that.
Yes.
Fixed doesn't mean small, it just means understood. So, if you're working on a limited budget, you cut corners where you can, and these KOTOR-style conversations are one way of doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having said that, we would love to have everything be still full voice, but if it's the difference between them, getting something made or not, or them getting, the right budget from EA or not, then we'll take it.
And it's clear that they will be doing their cutscenes for the real story, as in through Chapter 10, etc., and the real chapters. There's plenty of cutscenes with your character talking, so it's not like they've taken it away. It's just this Alliance grind stuff is using the other cheaper style.
Okay, good. Thank goodness it's going back for the actual story.
Yes.
Ezra of Jedi Covenant wrote, as I'm listening to the last podcast of 2015, I just wanted to leave a quick note regarding the game time code and cartel coin deals. Along the with the along with the Origin deal for 60 days and 1,050 cartel coins, there's also a deal on Amazon for 90 days and 2,400 cartel coins. And there's a link. The Amazon deal is just like the Origin deal in that it's limited to one code per account. Since I use both codes on my account, I can say for sure they can both be used on the same account, and each code will grant you a different mini Rancor pet.
Oh, cool.
Very nice. I saw one of those in game. It was really cool. I think it was very nice. And there you go. Hope that's helpful.
It is. It is. I'll link to both, of course, if you haven't actually found them yet.
Yeah, I know. I did buy multiple code cards a while back just to see how they worked and get the little pets out of them. But those were the ones that were mostly like spaceship pet codes, basically. There's like 4 different ones. All right. Chinook wrote, if you like art and aren't following Grizz and Norm on Instagram, you're missing out. Zucchini! And there's an Instagram link.
Yeah, I just posted the picture in. This guy's an artist. Well, actually, it's 2 people, apparently.
Okay.
Grizz and Norm LeMay are feature animation artists at Walt Disney Animation Studio. Grizz is a visual development artist and character designer, and Norm is a storyboard artist. So, nice. And the Instagram is plenty of Star Wars stuff. Just sketches, really, but they're pretty cool.
Yeah, it's well done.
Yeah.
That's the zucchini joke. That's awesome.
If you're interested in pictures, Instagram really is something you should be following. There's plenty of people posting the most amazing stuff out there. So
yeah, I should probably do that more. I haven't actually gotten into it, but I'm certainly aware of it. Anthony Garcia wrote, do you guys know what happens to the shoulder cannon skill for vanguards? Mine is completely gone.
Now, I checked up on this, and it is a skill that's trainable at level 61, or should have been. However, Anthony said that it just did not appear until he was level 65, which sounds like a glitch to me. So again, should be available at 61. For him, it was not. He did check. He went to his trainer at level 61. It was just not available. But he was able to get it once he maxed his character. So something ain't right there.
Okay. I wish I could give better information. I did level Chill Hulk from 60 to 65. She did get it along the way, I thought. But maybe it was 65. I don't. Unfortunately, I can't remember. It runs together too much.
When I level my bounty hunter, I'll check as well.
Yeah. Fortunately, it's nice to have. If you don't have it, but you at least have it by the end game, then it's not the end of the world. But it would be bad if it was broken completely.
Agreed.
Let's see. And can pubs and imps do alliance quests together in Kotfi?
And that is a really interesting question, because given the whole way it's going and the whole breakdown between the 2 factions, why not? It would kind of make sense, wouldn't it, for you to be able to group with Republic to group with Empire. But no, you can't, because reasons.
Right. AJ wrote, I listened to the last OotiniCast, and Kuze, you're right about Doc. He's one of the few that likes courting. Courting others not working. Yeah, so... Yeah. Like we mentioned, what seems to be happening is if they naturally like courting, as Doc does, you don't have to romance him for him to like courting, so that's fine. But for any of the characters, any of the companions that you have to romance in order for them to like courting gifts, that seems to have gone a little haywire.
Oh, Blacklock did mention that he got his shoulder cannon at level 61 on a power tech, so maybe it is only the Republic side that's broken for Vanguards.
Okay. Justin wrote that YouTube video review, Australia's Good Game, was region locked, by the way. Oh, I noticed that too. Sorry, I forgot to mention
Sorry about that, guys. I had no idea.
Yeah,
it's usually
There's no way
us
for you to know.
Getting
locked from
other
America
countries have a region
whatever.
locking away from us, yeah.
By the way, but well worth the efforts I had to take to watch it. So he figured out a way around it. Very nice. Yeah. I had to find a free VPN with a server in Australia to watch it. So annoying for a show that looks like it isn't sold outside Australia. Anyhow, it made me a little excited for the Kotfi stuff I've yet to experience, so thank you for that. In the time I stopped playing and the time I've come back, Torhead seems to have disappeared. Are you guys aware of a comparable site I could use if I ever needed help with missions, conversation guides, and so on?
And the quick answer to that is Tor Community. The work of SWOTOR Miner and SWOTOR Potato creating the Tor Community database is excellent. It's not as polished as Torhead, sad but true, but it's excellent anyway. And I suspect over time it will be better and more thorough. So,
and there's also some Google Docs that have come out with various databases as well.
Yep, and also Jedipedia, I'll link there as well with a kind of alternative database. Those guys are also data mining content for that.
Right.
So yes, Torhead is gone, but others have risen in their place.
Yep. All right. And the rest of that paragraph is just about the same thing. But Justin does say, P.S. 2016 may finally be the year that I test the waters of group content. Partly thanks to you guys. You've gotten me curious, despite the complaints about the lack of new group content. Well, it's true. I mean, if you're new to the game, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the end-game content. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of great bosses and so on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, one of my favorite boss fights is still the Cyber Rancor, and fighting it as a tank, where you have to get the Rancor under the magnet. I love that.
Yes. One.
Yeah. All right. And Kuze wrote in, this is what real communication looks like from a community manager. And he has a link to Black Desert Online.
Which is a game that he was talking about, a new one that's in progress. Yeah, I don't know. Any game in development always has pretty good community interaction, I've noticed. It only sort of dries up later on.
Right. Yeah, exactly. This is the sort of, if they're brand new, this is the time when they'd be most active. So
yeah. So whatever.
I guess we're hard to we're hard to please on that one, I guess.
Yeah.
Or hard to impress, at least.
Indeed.
Roderick Simmons writes, Ivalon, thoughts on similarities between Snoke's theme and Episode 3's Tale of Darth Plagueis? And Ivalon wrote back, it's definitely the same texture and intent, but could also just be seen as Sithy music.
Yeah, so obviously you don't want to spoil too much, though. As we talked about previously, you've probably all seen The Force Awakens by now. There's some theories that Snoke may or may not be Darth Plagueis, and there's absolutely nothing to substantiate that. So yeah, take it as you will. The music, as Ivalon says, maybe there's a connection through the music, or maybe it's just Sithy music for them both.
The thing about music, and especially music that doesn't have like lyrics and such with it, is that it's all about emotion, and these emotions can be connected in a lot of different ways without it actually meaning anything from like a plot standpoint, or or connecting characters or anything like that. It can just be, both can be sad, both can be angry, and they can actually use that to connect it, but without it actually meaning anything more deeply as far as spoilers go.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. Ivalon himself wrote in, and one of the great jokes I first heard, probably in the early 90s when Carrie Fisher hosted a showing on Sci-Fi Channel of the Star Wars movies. How did Han Solo cross the road on Endor? I don't know how. He walked. No!
So bad.
Yep. Shar Eli of Begeron Colony.
Begeron.
There's no Begeron. God dang it!
Begeron. We'll get it right eventually.
Anyway, yeah. Shar Eli of Begeron Colony wrote in last week's OotiniCast. Both Teo and guest Ivalon mentioned that BioWare promised not to go over a year without new operations. This past week on is this Reddit SWOTOR?
Yep.
Reddit SWOTOR, that same topic came up, but the thing that gets me is that nobody can seem to properly attribute this promise. It appears to have originated with Eric Musco at 2014 Cantina events. Eric Musco is alleged to have stated that BioWare definitely wanted to avoid going more than a year between operations. Is this what y'all referred to, or do you have some other source for the promise of new operations on a yearly basis? As far as I'm concerned, this does not constitute a promise, but rather BioWare's community manager sharing a goal that BioWare Austin had that unfortunately they did not meet. I suppose I only bring this up because I learned on Snape's podcast interview with Chill and Teo that one of the objectives y'all have for OotiniCast is to provide accurate info for the listeners.
Which is absolutely true, and yes, so let us clarify that.
Okay.
He's right, I did double back and check this. The only source we have is at New York Comic-Con Community Cantina back in 2014, October 2014.
Okay.
And the write-up was by someone on the official forums, and no one from BioWare contradicted that, so as far as we know, it's accurate. And the question was, and this was in a post-Q&A, so not the Q&A where the whole crowd was watching, talking with Musco. The question was asked, why so long between operations? And what Eric said was, looking ahead at the project plan, they knew this was going to be a problem, that they would have such a big delay between the Dreads, the Dread Fortress and Dread Palace operations, and the Ravagers and Temple of Sacrifice with Shadow of Raven.
Okay.
However, they only had two options that they could realistically go with. The first was to release an operation before the expansion, before Shadow of Raven, and have it quickly become obsolete with 3.0.
Right.
And then only have one operation available with 3.0, or they could wait and have two for 3.0, but have a really long time without anything. It was a really crappy, and high-end PvEers got, well, screwed, and it's something they don't want to ever do again. That is, have that much time between operations. So yes, very much an aspirational goal by BioWare, which they... Of course, this was completely before, though we did have the hints of the change in focus to more story-based, let's build a single-player RPG in our MMO direction that they've taken.
Right.
So, yes, it was aspirational, and clearly they decided not to go with that because how long's it been? It's been over a year now. We got the last two operations in December 2014, and it's now January 2016 with no sign of those new operations. We're thinking earliest we'll get them is, well, mid this year, but we'll see.
Right. Exactly. Okay. And Kimmy wrote in. Kimmy, former guest. You might remember her from an interview a few months back, couple 3 months back. And she has a lot of follow-up here on some things that we've said and our guests have said on the show. And as always, or at least as our time before, I'm sure people will be interested in what she has to say. Here we go. So, and this is a pretty long email, so get ready. Final Fantasy XIV. You had a young man as a guest on your show who spoke about Final Fantasy XIV and the apparent lessons it can teach BioWare. First, I want to make it clear that I understand the young man's perception as a player and how he came to his conclusions in the first place. However, the real story behind Final Fantasy XIV is far more nuanced. What actually happened with Final Fantasy XIV was that Square Enix wanted to do a Final Fantasy XIV on the cheap. Square Enix has a history of bleeding money. What's worse is that while each new project had a cost assigned to it, which inevitably became altered to accommodate the studio culture of hemorrhaging money so that artists could work without the constricting presence of budgetary taskmasters. And the quality of the work being done was getting worse and taking longer to produce. All of this would later be remedied by CEO Phil Rogers, who cleaned house and became more of a public face of Square Enix, which is what he does. He's a hands-on CEO. Final Fantasy XIV was a personal embarrassment for Phil Rogers because the game represented the culmination of years of poor studio culture, and it happened under Phil's watch. And while Phil is a hands-on CEO, he was fighting old Japanese men who took complete ownership of their art and their craft. When Phil tried to make things more streamlined and productive, the studio as a whole felt constricted. The Japanese game industry is very political, which is a whole other topic. Just know that, as Japanese people, we don't take too well to outsiders coming in and telling us how to do things, which we see as insulting our traditions, even if those traditions are mere decades-old game development methods. But in the end, Phil Rogers won the battle of ideas. Tanaka Hiromichi was one of these Japanese men set in his ways. However, while he was indeed a man of will, he was also a good person who tried to do as he was bid. The entire Final Fantasy XIV team under his leadership tried to make a Final Fantasy game within the strict borders laid out. It was obviously a disaster. Phil Rogers made adjustments to his new doctrine and changed out some very frustrated and jaded staff. Only after this adjustment in the new doctrine and replacing staff with fresh horses did we get the Final Fantasy game deemed a born-again game. And while the players like to think that they designed the game via the forums, the truth is that suggestions were made and ideas were expressed. The developers took those thoughts into consideration. The actual game was made by developers who knew what they were doing and worked well with the leadership of Square. The idea of the game being reborn was far more than players realized. Now, as to BioWare taking some lessons from Square, with kind affection to the young man who made these suggestions, he's absolutely wrong on all of his conclusions. If anything, the Final Fantasy XIV team and Square Enix as a whole can learn a whole hell of a lot from Tor and from BioWare. BioWare doesn't have the luxury of being its own publisher, unlike Square Enix. The budget which EA approves for Tor is amazingly small now, and BioWare really has to sell everything to EA to get even the smallest things made. One of the things BioWare does to stay profitable is indeed not listening to the loudest players. BioWare simply must produce the content which gets used and generates income. Contrary to current popular opinion, this indeed does mean putting out PvP maps and operations. However, it does not mean putting out nightmare modes or expanding Galactic Starfighter. GSF is a bit harder to explain, and I don't want to hog up all your showtime, but nightmare modes, for example, are simply a waste of time and money. Nobody plays them. You see, in Tor, if you play operations at all, as it matters to indigenous Tor demographics, you are hardcore, and this is a very small community. Now, for the people who actually call themselves hardcore, they are a minority within a minority. It's folly to produce content specifically for them, i.e. listening to the loudest voices isn't a good idea. Look at the numbers every time. BioWare Austin, as a studio of artists, is streamlined and works well with its management. Do things get done at a lightning pace? No. Do bugs get fixed as fast as we, the players, would want them to? No. Do things stay broken for a long period of time? Yes. Does this mean that BioWare Austin is full of people who hate their players or simply don't care? Only ignorant people come to this conclusion. Think about it, just from a self-preservation perspective, it's in their best interest to make a good game. They want to work and provide for themselves and their families. The fact is that all of the things we, the players, are frustrated about or even angry about, there are several intrigues and political situations far outside the control of the artists at BioWare. The only thing BioWare can learn from Square Enix is how not to do things, and the heavy price to be paid for having a poor studio culture. As far as people thinking that BioWare needs to listen to its players to fix Tor, I say to you that Tor is not broken. It's already been reborn and has already listened to the players that matter. And if by June 2016 players feel that this rebirth isn't for them, if the new MMO bits and all the other really great things Tor rolls out doesn't make them happy, then those players should be honest with themselves and leave.
There you go. So there's a lot of stuff there, but
And there's a whole other chunk to come, but let's go. This is a good place to chat.
yeah, it has a ring of truth to it, in that they really are doing what they can with the budget they have, the team that they have, with EA presumably insisting that they make a profit and not being willing to throw too much money at them. They have to be lean and efficient, and that means prioritizing development, and it also means making sure that whatever they build will appeal to the widest possible player base. So everything she's saying makes sense. There's nothing here that you jumps out as saying, no, that doesn't sound
exactly.
right.
And I remember, even a couple of years ago, you hear the stories about how, like, if they want a particular mount made, for, even for cartel coins, they have to, make a case for it. So it's like, it seems to be true. Like, every little thing, that has a budget associated with it is going to have to be, approved and looked at, and it's going to have to, find a way to make money, essentially.
And if for anyone who's ever worked in a large organization, it's at least as bad as what is being portrayed here, most often worse. So in some places, it's a miracle anything ever gets done. I think they're doing actually pretty well, being under the aegis of EA, even so. So I suspect they're actually given a fair amount of rope to hang themselves with, so to speak, but again, they don't have much to work with. So within that, there is some freedom, but they have to be, I can imagine, they have to be so careful with their budget and really focus on putting their development effort. This is the thing with software. It's so hard to, unless you've done it, it's hard to imagine just how much time anything takes as far as doing that kind of thing. You have to do it to really know just what it involves. Really, if the team is not that large, they're doing a fantastic job.
Darth Brundlefly says something interesting in the chat. He writes, "The trouble with BioWare metrics is that they check the numbers after they have cheesed off that part of the community. Galactic Starfighter, as an example, they don't support it. After a while, no one plays it because it's neglected, and then BioWare says there's no point in doing anything for it because no one plays it." So it's an interesting point. It's true that it's hard for them to make that sort of investment in something if it's not doing well. But on the other hand, if it's a sort of system like GSF that requires players to be interested in it and playing it, then you almost if you're not willing to put that investment in it on an ongoing basis, then it will fail eventually.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah.
So I think Darth Brundlefly makes a good point for things like GSF.
But you've got to assume that anyone analysing the metrics would be aware of that and take that into account. They're not dummies, so...
Yeah. And right. And I'd say, unfortunately for, the players, the hardcore of the hardcore, as she's saying, the people who really want to do bleeding edge content, unfortunately, you really do need a huge player base to have a large enough group of people to make that worthwhile. Doesn't seem like we're quite there, unfortunately, with SWTOR, although at least we're close enough that they keep doing the operations. So,
yeah. Might as well move on to the next bit.
Alrighty, and then, yes, the next bit is called Tor Marketing. Once again, Kuze brought up his talking point about the lack of marketing for Tor. What Kuze and the listeners need to understand is not only does BioWare lack control of marketing for Tor, EA lacks control over marketing for Tor. In fact, due to Tor being part of the Star Wars IP, Lucasfilm Disney has the control of marketing for Tor. EA simply follows Lucasfilm and Disney's directives for marketing for Star Wars IP products. Lucasfilm and Disney specifically did not want Tor to be marketed during the past few months. The Fallen Empire marketing was greenlit by Lucasfilm Disney for within and around Celebration last year, which... You remember we did get a chunk of it around that time. Yep. And that's what we got for Tor Fallen Empire, and it was clear that was what the space allowed. Next, the focus was on Battlefront. I can tell you a whole interesting story behind that too, which EA was committed to. When the Tor players and faux industry analysts get uppity about things, they usually blame BioWare or EA. These things tend to be more complicated and political than they appear. But the road that these micro-celebrities and faux industry analysts take is to be edgy and critical because it aligns with the loudest opinions. And as a note to the listeners, just because a gamer on a podcast has an opinion or a theory, or even speaks as if they have the facts, doesn't make it true. Sometimes people are more concerned with being heard and cultivating their micro-celebrity status than they are with actually having the facts or even being informed enough to have an opinion that holds up. A lot of what I share can be fact-checked, and no matter who it is that you're listening to, you, the listener, should always fact-check what you hear and read before you get behind someone else's opinion or theory. I support OotiniCast, specifically Tio and Chill, because of the quality they strive for and their integrity. OotiniCast is not part of the echo chamber. And while they are wary, they generally stay positive enough to present a fair assessment of the Tor situation to you for free every week. OotiniCast did not become the #1 Tor podcast for using the Tor forums or Reddit as a script for their show either. Tio and Chill have a direct relationship with BioWare and other people in and around the game industry. In fact, forces have worked to make sure that it's a special relationship. However, keep in mind that a guest on the show is typically just that, a guest, a gamer with an opinion.
So, obviously, kind words from Kimmy, which we appreciate, and
for us at least.
Yeah, indeed, and that pretty much does summarize just what we are and what we do. And I like to just look at the facts as best I can, always fact-checking whenever I can, and forming my opinion on that. It's too easy to just get caught up in negativity and bizarre conspiracy theories. So often the reality is, it's often exactly what it seems to be, and what it seems to be is often complex and, as she says, political, and particularly with big companies.
Right. In hindsight, I guess it makes sense that they would have that much control. We always thought, well, gosh, they're putting so much emphasis, why don't they, move a little over to SWTOR? But, if Disney is really putting the hammer down on them as to where they can put their marketing efforts, then I guess they just got to go along to get along, and they certainly wanted Battlefront to be a success. How much of a success it is, I don't know. I've heard both sides try to make a case for that, so I can't really say, but I certainly hope that now that Battlefront has been out for a little while, maybe some more attention can be driven back to SWTOR, but I guess that's not up to EA or BioWare, apparently.
Yep. Which is really sad, because now is a good time for people to jump into Star Wars The Old Republic. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now, I guess that's pretty much it, Jill. May as well move on to...
All right. That'll bring us to the Sarlacc Digest, where we go over the issues for 1,000 years, or until we run out of time. And our question for the listeners, what are you doing in the SWTOR lull before Chapter 10? New alts? Copy again? And
now, the idea to ask our community was Ari's. She said this would be fun just to find out what are people doing, because a lot of us are playing a lot less than we have previously. So what I've done is taken the fantastic responses, and thank you everyone for just sharing what you're doing. It's quite enlightening. I put it all in chronological order, so we'll just go through it very quickly. So from our old friend Cal, who used to be in the Aussie Road Group, he's moving house. So, okay, no time to play. Joseph Brown, sadly not a thing, even though still running on paid game time. A lot of this is good friends. A lot of this is because good friends have walked away. Now, that may become a bit of a theme as we go. But not for everyone. A lot of people are still playing.
Right. That's one thing about MMOs, though, is ultimately, I mean, even though the emphasis has become on story and single-player gaming, it is an MMO, and the community is kind of what keeps people around historically for MMOs. Now, obviously, they're going with a different direction, trying to keep people's subscriptions going through monthly content and so on. So this is all kind of changing, and hopefully it works. But historically, what keeps people in an MMO is their friends are in the same MMO.
Yep, and a lot of people have realised that all they have to do is sub for a month once Season 1 is done, and they just get it all. So they could just wait. Certainly that's what Joe Foran of Casual Core Radio was saying that he's going to do. All right, next is Corrit, building legacies on all the servers and becoming the first person to have 100 million credits on them all. It's faster since 4.0, but still you have to get to Chapter 3 before you get the buffs. So, man, mate, that is...
That's an interesting
time-consuming
goal.
challenge, yes.
Yes, that would be. Wow.
But then again, all too possible now, given how quick it is to level. Yeah. All right, next from Kat. The worst part of the new Star Wars movie is that it makes me want to play SWTOR again. So Kat hasn't played for a while, and I suspect this is going to drive a lot of people. They will find the game eventually. So
no matter
it's
how
the
well
only
they
Star
hide
Wars
it.
MMO. Yeah. Yes. Exactly right. JW Thompson, I used 2 times XP to get a player of each class going. I finished my first character through Fallen Empire, and I'm dipping my toes into PvP. Also thinking about joining a guild.
Very nice.
There you go, new player. Why not? Rondo War, quick leveled my 19th level 65 toon. Bloody hell. Did Knights of the Fallen Empire twice, but won't do it again. There aren't enough story differences for my taste, and isn't that a common story? I think twice is probably enough for most people. Do it on Republic and Empire, maybe do the light side and the dark side.
Yeah, so then you've got anywhere between 2 and 4 of them.
Exactly. Chinook said, I'm still leveling 60s to 65 through Heroics to get Alliance crates to grind Alliance rep on my main. I did Knights of the Fallen Empire 3 times, my main on Jedi Covenant, once on my main on Harbinger, and my instant 60 on Harbinger. I spacebarred the 3rd time to get to the Sky Trooper fights faster. He was kidding about that. I haven't logged in the past few days because I'm back playing Euro Truck Simulator 2.
Huh. Okay.
Is that a thing? I guess it must be.
It must be.
Yep, okay. Euro Truck Simulator. I'll add that to my Steam wish list. All right, Tiber says, not playing or subbed. The fact there is only one story really puts me off leveling my alts. It was a good story, but I did it in 2 days. Struggled to find any motivation to do the same story 10 times. I will return for the new bits. So yeah, another, as Chinook said he was doing, leveling 1 or 2 characters, your main ones,
Right.
through the story, and then doing the Alliance grind, but then for everyone else, level them through Heroics, because you can actually get the Alliance crates from level 61.
Yep. And
Why
group
not?
up. Holy hell, it's fast.
Yep. Yep. Lauren says, taking a couple ults through Kotfi since you can't fly to Odessa without having done the story anymore. Also been running ops. Now see previous tip about getting there via the quick travel option. Or Blacklock, more ults through Kotfi, some pug raids and heroics, as he talked about in his what he's doing this week. Matt Leclerc, playing Marvel Heroes, Fallout 4, Hearthstone, and Heroes of the Storm to pass the time. Nothing new. Short logins to SWOTOR for Ops and PvP. Did Knights of the Fallen Empire twice, once on my Knight, again on my Inquisitor. Disappointed with the choices. Don't want multiple alliances, because it's a hell of a grind.
No. Yeah.
URC 5 being on the North American server is the only exciting 2016 news so far, and I'll be spectating. So that is the Red Eclipse player tournament, and I can't remember what URC stands for. But yeah. Alright, next, Rachel, that's Sam, PvPing across multiple characters in an attempt to keep it fresh, and progression raiding with her guild. Good to see Rachel still
nice.
playing. Sith Lord, still trying to raid and crafting credits to buy Alt's crafted gear. Okay. Sithus Fisk, playing WoW. Now, he's from Old Republic Dads, and I know Neptune and those guys are getting into World of Warcraft again.
Yeah, like I was saying to our little internal email with the raid guild is, I can't imagine going back to WoW just because I played it for so long, I played it so hard, and then I really didn't like some of the changes from. Basically, Pandaria was sort of the one that made me really want to go, and I just can't imagine going back to it. Even though I'm certain it's still a quality game and whatever, and there's still plenty of people playing it, and that's all great. But I just can't imagine going back to WoW.
Yeah, it's fair enough. All right, Davo says, subscription runs out in 4 days and cancelled it, taking his stance with my wallet. Been trying other games like Guild Wars 2 and Elder Scrolls Online.
Okay.
Yep. Flesh Ribbon will probably take my first break from the game besides operations since beta. Ouch. The Maraf, the lull between content releases is getting real, he said. Yes. Yes,
Right.
it is.
Yeah, it's starting up again soon, but boy.
Does 1 chapter, 2 hours of content every month really count as content? I suppose it is content by definition.
Right,
I
it's
hope
just
there's
enough.
other stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will Phelps, just starting to learn PvP and Conquest. New player getting into new aspects of the game.
Very nice.
What, Descartes, alliance with half a dozen toons, get all the ults up to 65, if not done yet with Kotfi.
Okay.
Born to eat bacon. I took my fat green squid-headed gunslinger through Kotfi, and it was more fun than doing it with a free level 60. Yeah. Also rolled Juggernaut and a Guardian on Shadowlands, and am trying to adjust from DPS to tanking with the help of Bad Feeling Podcast. And finally, I have been trying to become profitable with crafting, gathering, and the GTN. Getting much better too. Happy 2016. Glad to see
nice.
you're really still into it, Mr. Bacon. Now, Roy, finishing off the last 2 story arcs I have left, just finished The Agent, now Consular to finish them all. Also took my first Empire side tune through Kotfi, my Sith Juggernaut Regus. Still enjoyable, Jugs are badasses though. Yes, they are.
Yeah, 2 pretty darn good stories to finish up on. Finishing The Agent and then Consular.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are two great stories.
Marcos, playing other games, honestly. Again, there's a fairly common
enough.
theme here in the lull. Mandy, finishing my legacy characters and maxing out Alliance influence with the advisors on my main, which nearly drove me insane. I can just imagine how many right-clicking of companion gifts that involved. Oh boy.
Even on my banking alt, I mean, I got them up to half the levels, which took forever. But if I want to get the other half, it's actually I'm only like 20% of the way there because it takes so many points to get the high levels. Ugh. Yeah, it's crazy.
God. Minju, taking a break until the last chapter is released, as Joe Foreign is doing, and probably others as well. Marcos, obtaining 224 gear. Remember, that's the stuff you can only get from the highlighted hard mode operation each week.
Right.
and has a chance to drop from Nightmare Mode operations once they actually fix it in February. But at the moment, the only way to get 224 is via the highlighted hard mode. Quirkus, I healed a Sith and I like it. Okay.
Is that a Katy Perry reference?
Probably. Sean K, the influence and gear grind to get ready to solo the Star Fortress Heroic.
Yeah,
cool.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. By design. It's probably the only hard stuff left in the game, outside of hard mode rating. Neptune, raid logging in SWTOR while gearing up in WoW. So it's Neptune of Old Republic Radio and Old Republic Dads. Chronotoko, restarting up all the series I've neglected to continue on my channel, like my Jedi Knight / Consular, my PvP series, and KOTOR.
Yep.
Glad you're back, Charlie. Finally sick of Battlefront, are we?
Nothing will keep you doing something in a game quite like also like making content out of it, whether you're a YouTuber or a you know, or a streamer or whatever. It absolutely pushes you to play the game.
Yep, too true. AJ, haven't redeemed my Insta60 yet, so maybe that. Jedi Knight, I haven't either, by the way. Jedi Knight Dismiss got the HP SW laptop, Star Wars laptop. Got the HP Star Wars laptop with Windows 10 for Christmas. They all play great and great plug and play functionality.
Very cool.
All right.
Not aware of that one. We'll have to maybe
find out what that is.
For a picture, yeah.
Cole Bennett, seeing my Assassin's story again, my first class to 50, now that 2 times XP is over, just like Papa Tio would always want. Yes, I would. Do it the old-fashioned way, or as close to old-fashioned as you can get anymore, which isn't very. Darth Brundlefly, 9 characters through Kotfi building a line, so grind, and he included this really cool head-exploding gif. Yes. Grind. Overbite, last character to get legend, wait for it, dairy status. So getting all 8 class stories done.
Yeah, I just pasted in a little picture of the HP Star Wars laptop.
Oh, very cool.
At least one of them. It actually is just showing a picture on the screen, which, you know, any computer could do, but...
yeah, okay.
It does indeed exist. It's an HP Star Wars themed laptop.
Nice. Ethu, PvP and the rest of the class stories I haven't seen yet. Scott Thomas, Destiny. People are still playing Destiny. I thought they kind of gave up on that.
It's been around a long time, yeah.
Yep. Serious Table IIC, intently setting up my Steam controller for SWTOR. Found some inherent weaknesses, working on second rendition now. There you go. I've heard of people using controllers for the game, so why not?
Yeah.
Personally, I just can't deal with controllers. I'm just not a console player. But
I really love my Nostromo, though. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's basically just a fancy keyboard.
That's true. Perkysaurus. Now there's a cool name. That's always funny. Time for more alts. That's true, and it doesn't take long anymore. That's more or less what I'm doing. Yep.
That's what I'm doing, essentially.
And that's probably what I'll do once I do finally get back into it. The Darth Diddy. Raid Friday, Monday, and occasionally on Saturday. Playing something else the rest of the time. Another raid logger. Bored Brit Gamer. Sadly, BioWare actions in regard to PvE endgame and progression has driven me away for now until more story further down the line. Sad face. Okay. Our old friend Force Chuckle, GSF, and I resubbed in Eve. They built a they built a lot of ships while I was away. I'll bet they did. I don't think I'm tempted to go back to Eve. Just a tiny bit too hardcore for me.
Yeah.
Dirta, back to raiding this week after taking 2 weeks off. We'll see how it goes. Absence makes the heart grow fonder and all that. Well, something has to, in case of all those operations we've seen before. Our old friend Bill, the Moneymaker. Battlefront, Fallout 4, Heart of the Swarm. And that is all.
Or is that Heroes of the Storm?
Heroes of the Storm. That is all. That's sad, Bill. Not playing SWTOR. Master Lou, new alts, occasionally heroics, progression operations, and trying to play on 2 or 3 servers. Wow. Yep. That'll keep you busy. Seth?
I'm not the kind of person who will play on more than one server. I mean, unless there's a really strong reason to. Boy, that is hard. That for me, that's a different kind of hardcore.
Yes, it is. I couldn't do it either, to be honest.
Yeah.
Seth says, rating and alliance building on 2 or 3 tunes, that takes up all of my time I have to game. And for those of us with real life distractions, yes. It doesn't. Well, you could easily use up your gaming time just doing not very much in SWTOR. One Pablo, finishing up Alliance alerts on alts and then messing around in Blade and Soul when that launches. Been hearing a lot about Blade and Soul recently.
Blade
It's
and
sort
Soul,
of anime feel MMO.
It is an MMO though. Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I haven't heard about it. I'll keep my ears open.
And Elise Brown responded, similar to this, been PvPing for the first time and I actually like it.
Yeah.
PvP in SWTOR is not bad. There is,
it's
well,
fun.
except for the
It
class
is
imbalance, but aside from that. Weakness says, I haven't really played much since completing Chapter 9. The Alliance thing didn't really interest me, so I'm letting my sub lapse after about a year of being subbed. I may wait for a few chapters to release before subbing again, get a big chunk done at once. A lot of people are being smart about that.
Yep.
So I guess most of my SWTOR experiences these days are vicariously lived through SWTOR family and OotiniCast.
Well, hopefully we can keep people interested to some degree for
Indeed.
situations like that.
And hopefully there is more real content for us to talk about.
Yes.
Nightspawn says, watching all the movies again before going to see The Force Awakens. Again.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Les says, I suppose find another game to play is not the tip you're looking for. P.S. Still love the show. Thanks, Les. Eric Imsey says, Disney Infinity 3.0, which I don't know anything about. So let's look into that for next week, because we should actually find out more. Quirker says, after 4 years of tanking in DPS, I switched to healing in PvP. I now get MVPs. I still suck, but I die less. Healing will do that. You can heal yourself.
Yep.
Though you do tend to get focused.
And people do vote for you, yes. People.
Yes.
I usually vote for healers myself.
That's something we really want to encourage is more healers in PvP. Except on the Republic on the Harbinger. Far too many.
Those.
Or at least it used to be. I hear Republic on Harbinger is apparently really crap at the moment. I was PvPing Empire side when the Republic was really strong, and that always got a little disturbing, but shifted
I think that's
completely.
actually changed. Yeah, I think it has. Maybe we'll have to... It has the... well, we know the numbers were sort of switching on the ranked... Because you remember you keep track of the ranked, and those were moving more and more towards Empire on the Harbinger. Even though it started out as
with no ranked at the moment, with no Season 6 yet.
Yeah,
we've got no more
data.
data.
Can't exactly tell right now.
Yeah.
No data points.
But yes, you're right. It was shifting in that direction. All right, Battleseeker, and yes, we're almost done. Battleseeker says, I made an operative healer to see the Imperial Agent story. Now I'm in love with it, and I'm in the middle of yet another main change. Yes.
I know how he feels. Yep. I in almost any game like this, I have a hard time sticking to a main.
Right.
One of the only ways I can even sort of do it is by raiding with friends, and then that becomes my de facto main.
For me as well, I don't mind having many characters that I play. It's just cool.
Yep.
Raz Hacks Solo. Honestly, I haven't played in a month. Will be at least another month before I even have the time to consider playing again. Well, not a bad time to have other things to do.
There's a lot of industries out there that are just busy this time of year, and people maybe have less time to play. There's lots of stuff that are just busy around the New Year's because various contracts are being renewed and stuff like that. So
Key Chak says, not playing at the moment, subs runs out soon, and as it stands I won't be resubbing. Hope for news that gets me excited about the game again. Fair enough. Next, Jesse of, also known as Unholy Alliances, who hosts the Passionately Casual podcast. She says, going through the planetary arcs again for the first time in a while, trying new specs and roles, stronghold decorating, and social flashpoint runs. Keeping busy, and that's all fun stuff, sure.
That is. That's all good stuff.
Our old friend Madma of the SWTOR family. My sub runs out the start of February. At the moment, have no intention of renewing it. Playing WoW kind of social at the moment, being asked to check out Final Fantasy.
Wow.
Ouch. Yeah.
Ouchie. Yeah. I mean, Badmar has really become an important, social corner, especially if you're a follower of SWTOR on Twitter.
Yeah, SWTOR family, yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Gillis, Battlefront, Fallout 4, Diablo 3, and Alliance faction on 5 more characters. So, if anything, the change in SWTOR has encouraged people to play a whole lot more games while they're still actually playing SWTOR.
Yeah.
And finally, Jedi Knight 3420, leveling new tunes and completing the storylines for each class that I haven't finished. So, again, for players who haven't actually done it all, there's still stuff to do. But once you've done it all, well, it becomes harder to find something to do, and hence there are a lot more games out there.
Yep.
So anyway, that is what we're all doing in the lull. Now we know what Chill is doing. He's leveling his alts, and
right.
myself, I'll be doing Alliance grind and probably do some fresh leveling as well, if I can work out a way of actually ensuring it isn't too quick. I'm not sure how I'm going to manage that.
Right.
Ask for an XP disabler, perhaps.
Yeah, I think if I'm doing more sort of in-game stuff, I'll probably be grinding heroics. If I'm with friends who are on Empire side, they are bind to legacy, so I can send them over to my main alliance on my operations tune. So that's kind of how I'm going to do that. If
right.
If we end up doing sort of like heroic grinding. And if not, I'm happy to be leveling my Harley Quinn tune and maybe coming up with other themed tunes. I think because that's actually what I've been doing for the last multiple characters actually, because I've already done all the classes. So it's fun to come up with a theme and then just kind of run with it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, might as well wrap there.
Okay. Was there anything from the chat that we should be noting?
Not that I saw. Someone did ask about whether we had anything more to say about whether we said anything about the queues on the West Coast servers. Zamzam, was it Zamzam said? No, Scott Thomas said there was a massive DDoS.
Yes, I heard about that.
Service attack.
Yeah. It didn't actually. I guess it was over by the time I got on, but I'd heard about it, and then, but it was already clearing out by the time I got on. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's pretty much it.
Okay. And Scott Thomas, did the Harbinger wind up crashing? I was watching the tweets at work and waiting for the boom. I guess it did, but apparently, though, it was one of the ones that actually came up first, because I also heard that, like, a lot of people were on Harbinger because the other ones were still down. So if it was down, apparently it wasn't down as long, because it was already, and it had already more or less cleared out by the time I got on. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. That is the show. So, if you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is from Mevio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevio.com. That's MEVIO. And thank you to the chat room. It's been it was very lively, and I appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.
All right, chill. Yeah, you may as well stop recording now, ish.
Oh, hang on. I will stop now.
I sync with that. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully, if these posts come that Eric was talking about, we'll have more stuff to talk about next week.
Yeah.
And also, thank you again for everyone who responded. So, there was a lot to go through, but it was really cool to hear just what everyone's doing. So, thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Alex, why are you going to sleep? It's up. It's noon. He's in our time zone, so
that's right. He's in Singapore, so yeah, you're basically lined up.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
More or less.
All right, guys. I'll stop the stream there. I don't think there's anything else we have to announce in terms of extra content, but you never know. Yep. So yeah, have a good week, guys. Let me just get the window so I can actually do it. Anything you want to announce, Jill? Guess not.
No, I do need to talk with you a little bit after, though.
All right. Well, let's get to that. And guys, we'll see you next week. stopping the broadcast and the